guess. But this one, I like this one a lot more because it does kind of go down the route of safe scaling, while you also still have good objective control with the Aatrox and the Hecarim. Gragas has really nice engage, too. Okay, this is just back. New meta.
Yeah. Cho'Gath is it's just pretty insane. Generally, you see him into tank top, right?
Yeah.
You see a lot of... We saw, actually, the solo kill of Cho'Gath onto Sion the other day.
I think what Live Sandbox Draft brings to the table here, Valdez, is really nice objective control with the Aatrox. It's going to be hard to control Herald if you're on the side of Frederick Breon, and it also scales up very nicely. It's kind of a catch-all composition. Doesn't have any big glaring weaknesses, minus the Aatrox is falling off later on.
Well, we'll have to see how it goes as we are going to hop on to the Rift for game number 1 here. Live Sandbox against Bro.
And it makes it hard to play around objectives when you just don't have that information. Speaking of, Effort's going to fight for it here.
I'm just kind of alone over here. Finally, Delight and Lava will rotate on over. Effort zoned away by that bubble, and now he's going to take a huge amount of damage. Does not have that flash, but it is going to be smited down here by Umti, and the rest of Live Sandbox is on the run. As nobody really wants to get in here, we're going to have another flash. Sleep on top of another one, and he should just be dead. That's going to be the kill given over to Umti, who can drop down this Rift Herald now if he'd like to in that fight compared to Fate's Victor. And it all comes down to the matchups that we have. So both big early objectives go the way of Bro, as Hoya is in a little bit of trouble here. He's going to be popped back, and now he's just going to feast the minion. He knows he's dead, so he's just going to try to delay as much time as possible. Does not have his feast anymore, so just being annoying.
This ends up being not terrible for Live Sandbox in the bottom lane. He's a lot of extra farm here to Prince, but they're going to be able to take this pressure here and turn that into a Rift Herald in the mid lane. So
remember that Lava did this to Showmaker as well with his Zoe. So Lava's no stranger to making the mid lane look easy on the Zoe, right? And we are going to have Effort and Croco actually stick around and try to fight over this Scuttle Crab.
Not so sure about this one with Zoe so close by. You have to be really careful. You get slept, and that is the end of the fight. So they do think better of it here. That he's there, so Umti can actually take so much more of his jungle away. Lava's going to get mid-turret. I mean, this is just starting to look like a disaster here for Live Sandbox.
Oh, man. Prince is alone down here. He cleanses and he flashes, but it does not mean he will get away. 3-on-1 as Effort is desperately trying to clear vision in their jungle.
Really like the position here for Live Sandbox. Fate is going to have to teleport in, but otherwise it's a nice place to be. Uh-oh.
Oh, man. Prince, not sure about that positioning. He takes way too much damage before the fight even begins. And you can see the counter engage here. Lava will take a bunch of damage. Delight is getting zoned out on the flank. Good cask is going to knock Hoya in. And now Summit is just a menace. Do they have the damage to burn through him is really the question. Lava's not landing the stuff that he needs to land in these team fights. That's actually going to be Bro backing off of that Cloud Drake.
Effort.
Probably looking for some ward clearing and gets caught. It's pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, that's the difference in terms of vision control in between these two teams. They didn't get the Cloud Soul, but they're still going to make that Baron play I was talking about here.
Yeah, you can easily do this, especially with Cho'Gath. You can also just turn off. They have the burst damage coming on in. That's going to be Lava picking up the kill. As Croco, he's pretty fast himself, but the flash will come in from Umti, who maybe went a little bit too far. The rest of his team not really backing him up on that one. Lava had to run all the way around.
Or else you're just going to run out of room real fast in these team fights. Live Sandbox will collapse in.
All right, here we go. They get a really nice flank onto that backline, and Delight just gets blown up. Huge damage, though, from the Zoe, but it's not quite enough. They have to kite this one back, as that's a big rupture. Lava will be looking for the kill. Nice block there from Summit. Once again, Henna is just kind of, he's a little bit zoned out. He's not really able to do consistent damage on the Tristana, and Lava's just trying to do it all by himself.
I mean, he's got to try. In fights like this, they're not going to be able to take this Drake away. But this is starting to become very concerning.
Oh, okay, here we go. This is where Bro really turned it on. We got another flash here for Lava. He's going to come on forward, look for the bubble. He finds another one, misses actually on Prince, who cleanses away from that one. And look at the true shot barrage damage. Prince is just going 1v5 right now. He's gonna get knocked up, and Fate was able to kite back with them. And Bro just got baited so hard into that choke point and got dominated.
Yeah, I want to watch that fight again because Lava's target priority there was greedy. He wanted to actually get the sleep onto Prince so he could actually hit both, but he doesn't hit the follow-up Paddle Star, so he kills neither of the Aatrox nor the Ezreal there in that exchange. The follow-up is real. Fate comes through and just does a ton of damage to help assist him. And, I mean, True Shot Barrage, very strong ability, as it turns out, but this is a kind of mistake that's going to cost you a Baron. And Fred and Breon were so ahead. But then let's see, watch this, because he actually looks for the sleep onto Prince and then misses the paddle. And if he actually hits that, he kills Prince, and then you could turn around and kill Summit. But Prince actually hits the True Shot Barrage, goes over the wall, and gets a double kill, and everything changes. If they had actually just slept the Aatrox and killed him instead, it's a much easier follow-up. So unfortunately, Lava with very much looking for the greedy double there ends up with nothing. Or they need Lava to hit Paddle Stars like every time it's on cooldown, and he's not able to do it. Here we go, one more shot.
Ooh, Prince in the front line this time around. He's going to get a track repelled. They're trying desperately to dive onto him, but he survives for an insanely long period of time. And that's going to do it. They tried their very hardest to get onto that back line. At the end of the day, it is Ezreal. And, you know, they used all that to try to get onto the backline carry the Ezreal. Fate and the rest of them are just sitting there doing insane amounts of damage.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just end here. They were looking to back and reset, but no, they decided that we've got enough of a wave here. We have an Ezreal who can actually do empowered shots on these turrets. I mean, they are going to go down. Fred and Breon in serious trouble here.
Yeah, they're just trying desperately. The Feast goes off. Henna's trying to go 1v4 right now. He's not able to get that kill, and he just gets blasted in the face by the Ezreal. That's going to do it for game number 1, Live Sandbox.
Let's take a look and see where Zoe ends up. I mean, much out-damaged here by the Victor, but Prince, in the late game, he hit that 3-item power spike, and he was just... he played godlike, you know? And
yeah, he spent some of his gold, too, to buy a QSS, and he also had Cleanse.
Yep.
So there was nobody in the late game that could get onto him. Not a single person. It didn't matter if Delight got the perfect engage, which he kind of did, around that turret when they were pushing with the Baron. It didn't matter. He was just going to get away, and that's just kind of the Ezreal number thing, right? He does almost 1,000 damage per minute, and I think...
Welcome back everybody to the Analyst Desk of the LCK here in this Saturday night, and today we'll be joined by 정현리, Victory, and Gorilla. Welcome! And this is Season with the translation. The competition for the post-season spot is so tough right here, and Live Sandbox was able to come back from starting behind. For the Breon used a lot of their ban card over to the top side of the map. However, that was not enough in order to shut Summit down and his presence in the lane. We already mentioned about this comeback of Summit in the second round robin in the match point as well. He's been really popping off, especially on those aggressive picks. Well, Cyan and other tank champions are kind of on the meta right now. So Hoya locked in Cho'Gath at the last pick, and Aatrox was a really nice pick into Cho'Gath because he can just permanently regain health by just autoing that champion in the side lane. Well, Aatrox is not a champion that is the same as Jace, but still this pick is very aggressive, and Summit was able to show the value of this champion in the end. And it was really odd to see how Freddy Breon was rotating their resources as well. Live Sandbox had Ezreal and Victor, the late game scale picks, whereas Freddy Breon had Zoe. So they had to play around that Zoe's power spike in the mid game, but there were some skills that were going wide, and Live Sandbox was able to buy enough time. So looking at the storyline of the game, we can just say that Live Sandbox had the late game comp, and then they were able to buy enough time to scale till the end of the game. There was this moment where Freddy Brion was able to raise the opponent's mid lane outer turret, but still, Ezreal never stayed behind the outer turret area on the mid lane because he was able to constantly just farm first with his Q skill, which was really stable, and at the same time, Freddy Brion, they were going too easy in terms of their map decision, and they allowed Leaf Sandbox to come back and attack their weakness. Leaf Sandbox, their comp is fairly weak in the lower level, but still they committed to take a fight around this Herald. Effort was looking for some clutch play, and they were looking for a pick onto the Udyr, but that was a greedy play and overextension. Udyr is not a champion that gets popped instantly, and at the same time, Leaf Sandbox, they have to buy enough time for Victor and Ezreal to hit their power spike, but somehow Effort was looking for some miracle play around that Herald, and that was pretty much just running it down on the river, but still Leaf Sandbox had some power potential to come back in the later phase of the game. I think that could be a great lesson for Leaf Sandbox because they can now realize that they don't need to rush with this kind of comp. Udyr was there, a very strong early game pick, whereas Victor and Ezreal were there for Leaf Sandbox to dominate the late game. And as we have been keep mentioning, we were able to see how Leaf Sandbox played this later team fight. I was really amazed by these engages coming up from both teams, and Aatrox was able to find that flank angle over the Dragon's Pit. And then we have a very extended fight. And Lava was able to keep poking down the opponents, but headed for one more poke damage onto the opponents could change this whole situation a lot better for Freddy Brion. And then Aatrox was able to pick up that Drake, and let's see how this fight unfolds. Ezreal was just going in and out permanently during this fight, and Tristana actually dashed forward in order to lock down the kill onto Aatrox, but he got that health back with the Triumph, and that also boosted more power for Prince and Fate in that team fight. The gold difference was not that huge at that point in the game. They were on a pretty much an even state. And what really mattered was that team fight. It all came down to the execution of the players, and Zoe Poke could be a menace for the Leaf Sandbox players, but there are some RNG factors for Zoe's Poke, and also Leaf Sandbox was able to defend their position really well in this game. And let's check out the player of the game for Leaf Sandbox. Prince with the matching hair color. Prince picks up the POG on Ezreal, his first POG of the split. It's been a while since we saw an Ezreal landing on the Q skills in the Spring Split, because we didn't have a lot of Ezreal games so far, but I think this champion is slowly climbing up the tier list. And Tristana permanently has the push priority in this kind of matchup, but Ezreal was able to actually find a very nice reset timing in the early game, and that's because Prince, he has a lot of experience on this champion. He knows when he has to take the tempo to reset. And then Freddy Brion had to go for this Hail Mary engage in order to pick up a kill onto that Ezreal, but he was able to survive forever. And it was time for Leaf Sandbox to turn the fight around. 6 for 9 votes picked up by For instance, Summit was also able to pick up 3 votes with that Aatrox performance. Now we're heading into game number 2 between Leaf Sandbox and Frederick Brion. Only 1 spot is left for the postseason. Let's find out whether Leaf Sandbox can make that 4.58% of the possibility happen.